Hi. Hello. Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me better now? Better. I think that might be a little bit better. I apologize. So, my name is Jessica Andelon. I'm with the Office of Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. As we know, we didn't have a quorum to be able to meet as a Bloomington MAC. However, this will still be a community meeting where SCE has kindly asked, has joined us today to provide some updates on the PSPS that have affected the community of Bloomington. So they will go ahead and do the presentation. If you have any questions for them, please let me know. I'll go ahead and I'll note them and I'll put them in the chat so that they can go ahead and address them. Since it is a Teams meeting, they can see, we can see them. They can only see partially us because we're not able to transfer it through the main projector. But like I said, we'll make sure to go ahead and answer some questions and note them for you. So they do have a translator, so we'll be happy to go ahead and also put any questions that people may have in Spanish. So please let us know if there's any questions, and we are going to get started. Hi, Melissa. Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
So we are live. There's a community group here that is ready for the presentation. So you're welcome to take the lead. I've already let them know. If there are any questions, they can go ahead and let me know. I'll put them in the chat, and then you guys can go ahead and answer.
Okay, wonderful. Let me just get it up and running here. Okay. To share my screen. Okay, can everybody see our screen? Let me give the thumbs up. Yes, we're good. Okay, awesome. Okay, wonderful. Well, first, just wanted to thank the board for having us this evening. I know that it's been something that the community has been asking for a while, and we're grateful to be here and happy to present some of the information that is much needed in the community. We know that this community of Bloomington was significantly impacted during the windstorms that recently happened. And so for that, we are incredibly sorry that that is something that the community experienced and the stress that was involved for families that had to weather that. And we want to trying to be of as much as assistance as we possibly can through a number of our programs that we're going to have shown to you tonight, as well as what a little bit of education on what exactly we do and why we do it when the power is out. So first slide, I just wanted to give a little bit of perspective on the amount of fires that have steadily increased throughout the past 40 years in California. You can see significant difference from 1984 to now as of the most recent data of 2023. And so it behooves us to be able to mitigate any potential ignitions that could happen in our communities, and especially in our what we call our high fire risk areas. This is a breakdown of some of SCE's ignition drivers from 2015 to 2017. Again, it's very rare that it comes from our equipment. As you can see the number here, wire to wire contact, or a car hits a pole or something like that, or an equipment failure. But usually it is from contact from an outside object, such as
Melissa,
a yes.
so sorry. One of the questions is, are you guys going to be able to translate in real time?
We do have a gentleman on the line, Louis Lara Moreno, who is going to be able to translate if we need that. I can pause, or the questions can be posted in the chat, and then we can address the questions as they come up.
But the presentation in general, are you able to translate that as well?
Not in the present moment, no.
So then, can we pause real quick, since there's a group here that would be able to translate?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just take a quick break.
Sure.
Melissa, I'm just testing the audio.
Okay.
Can you guys hear? ¿Me pueden oír mejor allá atrás? Can you hear me better?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think you might be able to hear me, but the audience is having a hard time.
Okay.
Because you hear it there. I think that might be yeah. I'm gonna move out this way to see if the audio is better. He's gonna work on it. Melissa, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Testing. So I believe as long as I don't speak when I'm in front, everyone should be able to hear you.
Okay.
Does she?
Sorry, can you hear me? Technology. Blessing and a curse.
You guys hear me? It's good? How about now?
There, since she has the presentation live. So you're just muting it? Okay. Okay, Melissa, I think we should be good now. Wait, did you turn off the volume? Because now I can't. No, hold on, Melissa.
Okay.
Oh, there it is now.
Okay.
Testing, testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you guys hear? One more time.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, I do appreciate the board making the accommodation for us to do this virtually. Thank you so much for this is very helpful for us to have as many experts in the room from Edison for any particular questions that I can't answer myself. So again, thank you for making that accommodation for us. So I'll just continue, but where we left off, 53% of ignitions are from objects. And when we have high winds like we did in January, this can be anywhere from a palm frond to an umbrella to a beach chair or a piece of lawn furniture. We were having some pretty high winds over in January. Some of them were in the 100-mile-per-hour scope. So that's really important that we keep that in mind when we do have these high winds. So we have seen a decrease in the fires from us. Is there a question? No? Okay. So ignitions have been decreased by 62%. We made a concerted effort to make sure that we are making sure that our communities are safe, that our homes are safe in the event of a windstorm and possible ignitions that could happen. So that has been significantly reduced from what it was back in even 2020. And these are some of the efforts. Make sure everybody can see my screen. It's kind of partly covered by some of the group chats here. But we've done a number of things to prevent an ignition happening. One of them is covered conductor. So in layman's terms, that is just extra insulation around a wire. Right now, you see going from pole to pole, those are bare wires unless we cover them with extra insulation. And we've done 5,600 miles of that in our service territory wide. We do have over 50,000 square miles in our territory. So that is a huge effort that we're continuing to move towards. We also are very focused on tree trimming and removals, brush removals. So we call that vegetation management. And that is where we are constantly exploring the vegetation on a routine schedule of our equipment and the brush that is surrounding it, and making sure that it is cleared. We also do regular inspections. This is via drones and in person. All of our lines, some of the lines we can't reach. They're in like the mountains and different areas that are hard to get to. And so we utilize drones to do that as well. And we have weather stations and HD cameras. So these weather stations are what tell us pretty accurately, I might add, what the weather is looking like in a particular area, what the expected wind speeds are to be. And we can also, with our HD cameras, we can see at the smallest spark. So that is very, very utilized not only by our team, but also some local county and like county fire uses our cameras as well to keep surveillance on some of the facilities and areas in the community. So we have seen because of all of these things that we've been doing, we've seen a reduction in PSPS outage time and compared to 2020. I know that this last windstorm that we had in January, it did not feel like it. It was pretty significant, and the long duration of time and the combination of multiple what we call PSPS outages. We'll get into that, but that is something that we are working towards reducing on a continual basis and finding ways to do that better. So again, we know that the community of Bloomington was severely impacted by that, and we're trying to, as we'll talk about later, talk about the ways in which that we can mitigate the possible start of a fire in the area. Let me go to the next slide here. Okay, so in San Bernardino County, this is all of the efforts that we've taken since 2018. You can look at this graph here, and we'll make sure that everybody has a copy. But you can see what we are doing and what we have done since 2018. And what this does is reduces again the mitigates the fact that we'll have to have a PSPS, but also mitigates the fire area. So if you can see, it says tier 2, tier 3, and our service area and our county lines, we see we have a high percentage of folks that are residing in San Bernardino County that are in high fire risk areas. And Bloomington is one of them. We'll show you that on the maps there, but you're considered high level 2 in a lot of the community of Bloomington. And it's important to note that we do not make those determinations. What is discovered or noted as a high fire risk area is from the state of California. The CPUC tells us what is considered a high fire risk. And so we don't make those determinations, but they give it to us so that we can keep a watch on the area and mitigate possible ignitions in those areas. So we already spoke to this a little bit, the different ways that we're doing ways to prevent, combat, and respond to possible fires. And that is why we do PSPS. We harden the grid, which is the covered conductor that I already spoke to about. We are also doing fire resistant poles. They're composite poles rather than the standard wood ones that you see. We're replacing a lot of those. We do a lot of protective devices that are on our grid for faster connection. So if the circuit is interrupted, we can respond quicker. We do targeted undergrounding. That is something that is on everybody's radar right now, is the undergrounding of lines. And we do that in high fire risk areas as well, depending on what we go to the CPUC with and on what we think would be a good measure to do that. And then also we have rapid earth fault current limiters. I know that's a mouthful, but that is where we can detect if a line has fallen to the ground and if something has happened. So that's something we're deploying for the entire region. And we talked about vegetation management, the inspections that we do in high fire risk areas. And the one that has been significantly impacting the community of Bloomington is the public safety power shutoffs, or PSPS. It is, I want to stress that it's a tool of last resort to mitigate the wildfire risk. We do not want anybody to be without power, but it behooves us to also keep in mind that we want to protect people and we want to protect their homes. And so we do every effort that we can. We'll talk about some of those different methodologies that we use to use PSPS in a very surgical and methodical way to protect the community. We already talked about any hazardous tree removal, and we inspect all of that. We want to make sure that our power lines and our poles are clear of any debris. We already talked about this one. I know it's a long presentation, so get through some of this here, but this, again, everyone will get a copy of this for your reference. But we're constantly maintaining our equipment and making sure that you have a reliable source of power. So our public safety power shutoff. This is something that, again, CPUC has asked us to mitigate the risks to potential ignitions in the high fire risk areas. And with the increase of fires that we've been having, the property damage, we only see about 10% of our infrastructure, that of any electrical infrastructure that causes wildfires, but it is some of the most destructive ones. So we try to mitigate that through public safety power shutoffs during dangerous conditions. And this last windstorm that we had qualified. There are a number of factors that we take into consideration. It's not just the wind, and I know that over the years, there have been many to point out that there has been higher winds than what they experienced, or it's not that bad, or it's not windy where I'm at, but there is a combination of things that we have to consider. So it's the wind speed. It's also low humidity. We have had not a whole lot of rain in the last year. So things are very, very dry, and that dry vegetation serves as fuel for those fires. And then also the public safety risk, if it's in an area, like we mentioned, that is in a high fire risk area, and the pull on resources, our local fire departments that are being pulled in different directions depending on the severity of if a fire has happened in a nearby area. If I am talking too fast, let me know. I will slow down.
Are we good on them talking?
Okay. Again, this is the ruling that was given to us by the CPUC, and all utilities have to implement PSPS to measure what is going to be a significant impact to the region. And again, we do this as a last resort. We don't want anybody to be without power. So there's a number of things that we try to get the word out for residents to be prepared if this is something that is on the horizon. We have several decision points. So we have a team of meteorologists that forecast the wind. They use those cameras that I spoke to about, and they assess the fire potential. So they're actually testing the brush and the grounds to see how quickly it would ignite and how dry it is. And these are real-time observations. Looking in the field, we do not operate and just behind a computer screen and switch on and off a button that is impacted for a particular community. We make real-time decisions, and we're trying to get the most accurate information from those cameras and our weather stations during the course of a PSPS every 10 minutes. And we also have to, like I mentioned, the decision to de-energize a particular part of a community through the circuits that run through it is also considered the first responders and essential services that are in the area and their need to respond to the community. So this is what I was speaking to about when we talk about wind speeds, fire potential index. When we have what's called bare wire circuits that I mentioned, those we have to have a lower wind speed than what can be normal or under normal circumstances, or blue sky circumstances is what we call. And then a fully covered conductor circuits, this is the good news, is where it is covered, it can withstand higher speeds, higher wind speeds. And so that is something that we're making a concerted effort towards, to do more covered conductor for those currently bare wire circuits, so that we don't have to impact communities like Bloomington. And then the wind speeds are separately for each circuit. So it's important to know. We'll show this on the map shortly in the next couple slides, but your community, every community, has a number of circuits that are running through it. So if you think of it like a highway, or veins in your arm, there is a detour, say if you were taking a main highway, and it'll take you one way, and that one section of the road would be closed. So that's what we aim to do. We aim to close off certain areas that we deem as a potential safety issue, and keep other circuits on that we can. So like I said, it's very surgical. We are not playing favorites with certain areas of the community or a different side of the street, but that is when we have the common concern from residents is, why does my neighbor have power and I don't? Well, that your neighbor might be on a completely different circuit that is interconnected to a portion of the circuit that we're concerned about, and the person across the street maybe isn't. So the wind speed could be the same for both of you, but at some point someone is being impacted by the dry brush or the winds. So we try to notify residents. We have a timeline. We start planning for PSPS based on the weather. We take a look at it and see if it's something that we're going to have to start planning for. We pull together what's called an incident management team. They're activated 3 days ahead of the potential windstorms. And then 2 days ahead, we give notification to customers. So again, we are at the mercy of the weather, and that can change at the drop of a hat. So we try to give the most accurate information as soon as we can. And that is when notifications go out that will say you're potentially could be impacted by the public safety power shutoff. Doesn't mean that you will, but it does mean that the preparations should be made, and expectations of the possibility of actually having your power off. So 1 day ahead, we'll send another notification, and then 1 to 4 hours before being shut down, we send another notice saying there is an expected shutdown notification. So if you don't receive that, again, it's just on the watch list until you receive a notification that says expected shut off. And we rely heavily on folks to have accurate information, and we're going to talk about that. But we reach out to customers based on their contact information. This is really important for us in our outreach, because most people, when they interact with us, they have their bill on auto pay, or it's not something they look at, right? They just go to pay their bill, and they don't know about a lot of these programs that we have. And we can't notify them if they've been at the residence that they're at for any number of years and have changed the phone number, or they may have changed the email that is associated with their account. So it's very, very important that we have accurate information, that even if you think you have accurate information with us, that you check your account and you go in and see what email do you have in there, what phone number do you have, so that we can make sure in the event of emergency like PSPS, we can notify you. It's also important that on our outage page, there is a link for outage notifications. If you were to go to sce.com/outage, there's a yellow icon in the top right portion of the page that says sign up for notifications. And we just need your cell phone number. So if you put your number in there and you want to receive those notifications, if something happens as well, that's important for you to sign up for that. We have a number of... Yes, go ahead.
I think we have a question from Jessica.
Sorry, I didn't see it. Go ahead.
No worries. Melissa, could we go ahead and pause real quick to answer some of the questions
Sure.
that people may have? It might take a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and ask them as they give them to me. I'm going to type them into the chat, and then from there, you can go ahead and we can just address them.
Okay.
En este momento, si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, díganla en voz alta. Yo voy a asegurar que la ponga en el chat y ellos van a tener a alguien que pueda que la pueda contestar y traducir. Ahora, como no teníamos las 4 personas, no sé si estaba aquí al principio de la junta, como no había 4 personas para tener, poder tener un quórum, la tuvimos que cancelar.
Oh, there's a lot here. I am so sorry. Missed these. So, okay. So we're going to get to the question of, there was a question for individuals with electric equipment on that would be on medical baseline and have their power shut off. Can a generator be provided? We do have a number of resources where if you go to SCE Marketplace, we don't make the prices on generators and how much they charge, but there are some agreements that they have that they provide rebates with Edison, and you can go there and purchase one. But through our medical baseline program, if you are a critical customer, you have to let us know. And I was actually gonna just get into that. Our medical baseline program is not something that we're gonna know if you are reliant on any type of equipment like that. You have to let us know. So if you sign up through Edison, contact Edison, let us know what kind of equipment you require. And we can not necessarily provide a generator, but we can provide a battery backup system for a lot of our critical care and medical baseline folks that need something in a temporary situation. But it's important that we have that information beforehand so that we can get you the resources that you need. Another question, someone said Edison is going around saying power poles being removed. I'm not exactly sure on that question. Does somebody want to clarify? We regularly go around and inspect our equipment. So if there has been a pole that needs to be replaced, we'll replace it.
¿Quién tuvo la pregunta sobre el pole de que si alguien está quitando los palos del poder? Did somebody have a question about the Edison going around saying that the power poles are being removed? Uh, uh-huh. Okay. Melissa, they're asking if can you hear me okay, Melissa?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't quite hear her, but if you could repeat the question.
The question is if it's true or false that the poles are being removed, that could potentially affect the did you say also the telephone poles? They're talking about removing the poles?
I don't. Maybe our district manager can hop on board. I don't know if he's on. I don't know of any polls specifically that are being removed, but I know that communication companies regularly attach their equipment to our poles, and that is pretty common. So the lines that are near the bottom, the closest ones to the bottom, those are communication lines. So, and ours are on the very top. So if we're replacing poles, then I'm not sure specifically Bloomington, what area of Bloomington that's being referenced, but we can take a look at that. But if they're being replaced, it may be because they were deteriorating, or it might be ones that, again, Bloomington has a high fire risk area. So we may be replacing some of those poles with the composite poles that I mentioned.
Roxanne, if you want to give me your address, Melissa, if I can get you that address, will you be able to check so we can provide the update?
Absolutely. Yeah, the specific location would be great.
Which one?
The specific location of what poll she's talking about, that we can address and take a look at. I don't think our district manager was able to join. He's out of our foothill service area, and so he would directly be able to take a look at what's happening regarding the polls.
Perfect. So the second question is coming up. I'll go ahead and I'll translate it.
¿Cuándo piensan en esa? ¿La vamos a seguir todo el tiempo así? En primer lugar. Segundo, nos van a perdonar algunos biles porque yo tuve muchas pérdidas. Dejé 2 semanas de trabajar porque cuando no hay luz, yo no puedo trabajar porque dejo mi casa sola y la delincuencia ha crecido mucho. Yo uso cámaras y si yo me voy a trabajar y dejo mi casa sola, es probable que se metan a robar. Entonces, y tengo un niño pequeño en la casa y entonces no trabajé durante ese tiempo. Tuve muchas pérdidas. Segundo, se me expusieron unos aparatos y tuvimos pérdidas. Quiero saber si ellos van a responder. ¿Y hasta cuándo? Vamos a seguir. Ya tienen 3 años igual. Y la misma cosa que están diciendo ahorita es lo mismo que dicen toda la vida cuando uno llama y todo eso.
Melissa, so the constituent was inquiring on well, first of all, expressing the frustration of the PSPS and how that has affected her specific household. The question is, would you guys be forgiving bills? She was without work for 2 weeks, so she was not able to go ahead and attend work. She works from home, and she wasn't able to leave her home due to her cameras not working and being afraid of the increase in crime due to no power, which also led to some of the loss of food in her household. This has been going on for 3 years. Is there anything else that you guys are doing? And again, the question, will you be forgiving bills or reimbursing?
Correct. Okay. When it comes to reimbursing bills, they're free to file a claim with Edison. That is a common question that we've received, and we are directing people to file a claim via our claims website. And if one of my team members could put that claim link in the chat, I'd really appreciate that, since I'm going through the presentation here. But thank you, Louis. But when it comes to the loss of food and the impacts and the safety concerns in the community, again, I just want to say we're sorry for the stress that has caused. We know it's been significant for the community there, and we really, again, we don't want to turn power off, but we also have to protect your home from any potential ignitions that could happen. It could be a bad actor that is starting something, and we, heaven forbid, we don't want any of our equipment contributing to a larger issue in the community. So we do encourage residents to file that claim, and we actually we get further down in the presentation. I can go through the rest of it and show you guys what we are actually going to be doing in the coming years for the community of Bloomington. It's some good news to reduce the impact of PSPS that you're going to be having in the future. And there's a lot of good work that we're doing. And again, it's not reactionary to what happened in January. This was something that we already knew needed to be done in that community, and we had been working towards with plans and with engineering to come up with some solutions that are going to be beneficial to the community. So I'm definitely going to go over that, what we're doing to help folks like yourself.
El año pasado yo tuve una pérdida de casi más de $3,000. Tuve que agarrar unas aseguranzas para reparar tengo pruebas de eso, para reparar mis electrónicos y todo eso. So, ya tienen 3 años desde que empezaron los warehouse, y yo no quiero acusar a nadie, pero yo pienso que esto lo están haciendo solo para beneficiar a unos cuantos, porque solo es unas cuantas calles, no es todo público, es unas cuantas calles nada más. Mientras nosotros nos quedamos 2 o 3 días sin luz, hasta una semana sin luz, las demás cuadras del otro lado tienen, y es muy raro, ¿no? Es un pedazo nada más, qué casualidad. Son 3 años desde que empezaron a construir warehouse ahí, empezaron a cortarnos la luz. Y si son 3 años que han pasado eso, ¿por qué no han arreglado el problema? ¿Por qué no han hecho algo concreto acá? Y no las mismas cosas diciendo que esto, seguridad, lo entendemos, pero es exageradamente que ya son 3 años, ya deberían hacer algo, digo yo. Gracias.
Melissa, the last bit was the inquiry on why certain blocks might be, or why certain properties might have power while others are not having power. And then also the question or the inquiry about certain warehouses having power while some of the residents might not. If you can just touch a little bit and explain on that, please.
Sure. So for first of all, we're gonna show you the maps so you can see the circuitry that runs through the community of Bloomington, and there are a number of what we call circuits that run through the community. So it is not giving favoritism to a business or a warehouse. It is highly dependent on where the circuit lies, and if it goes near a high fire risk area where we have our cameras and our weather stations. So we shut off where we can and keep the power on where we can. And it's rather than having the whole entire community being shut off, we try to what we call segment it. So if you think about it like a detour on a road, that road, you're going up one street and then you have to take a detour because that section is being worked on or needs to be, maybe there's a pothole or something like that. So when it comes to circuits, it's very much like a road in which we will take a detour to still provide power to some folks if we can, to minimize the impact of those that are shut off. And it really depends on the area and what circuit you are on. It is very possible and quite often the case where your neighbor across the street can be on a completely different circuit, but that circuit runs through what we deem as a safety issue. And so that circuit will be shut off, but your neighbor may not and will still have power because their circuit runs a different direction. It's not something that you can see visually from, say, street view. And we're gonna go through the map. It's all stuff that is gonna, I think, give better information and more clarity on the circuitry here. And we have a number of folks here on the call that can speak to that as well. So let me bring up the PowerPoint, if you will. I can go back to that. Is that okay?
We just have one more question and then we'll do back to the
Sure.
PowerPoint, Melissa.
Sure.
Una pregunta y luego vamos a regresar a la de esta y luego hacemos más preguntas, pero nada más para que ella pueda enseñar más de la información y por si acaso van a contestar su pregunta en la presentación. ¿Quién? ¿Usted tenía la mano? Uh-huh. So, Melissa, the concern is, and the frustration is on, there's a lot of emphasis on the PSPS having to do with security, but making sure, again, that why only certain neighborhoods are being shut off and the companies around and the areas around them still have power. Also, the fact that this constituent does work from home, so she was not able to work. She depends on electricity to be able to go to work. Her kids depend on being able to do homework. They're not able to attend school. And then the crashes and the security when it comes to people not being able to be safe on street. The emphasis on, yes, we continue to say, and I say we because I'm translating, understanding that this is an Edison, addressing Edison, but it continues to be said that that specifically things are being done, but why wait so long to get things done as opposed to getting the things started? And then also the frustration on the PSPS, the notice that they're receiving and the short notice, they're receiving it, but right away it's being shut off. So if you can just go ahead and answer on that.
Okay. So first of all, again, there is no favoritism being given to larger companies or smaller companies. The areas we focus on, and we want to make sure that we give a priority to, are like hospitals, critical care facilities. That is something that we will make sure that we're having some sort of measures to help them. So we reserve some assistance for those facilities. Bloomington was not alone in this situation. We had a number of communities that had very similar concerns with lights being out, with traffic concerns and safety issues, and school being done from home and homework. So that is something that the company is very aware of, and it was something that when it comes to notifications, we really are at the mercy of the weather. Sometimes the wind can pick up to a speed that we don't deem it safe anymore, and we try to provide as quickly as possible. Sometimes, again, we are not in control of the weather, and so we'll notify folks as quickly as possible that you could be shut down, and that may be within a matter of moments of receiving that notification, simply when we get that. But we do aim to let residents know and customers know as quickly as possible. And when it comes to some of the needs that are needed by our community, again, this was a far-reaching event. Not only did it be expansive in terms of the amount of territory that was impacted, the amount of areas of our communities that were impacted, but also in the duration. The windstorms that we recently had were once in a decade, is what we're hearing. Having something that long go on in numerous communities, not only Bloomington, but lots of other communities that are considered high fire risk, and they were off as well. And so this is something that we know is an issue. We know that it's a huge concern from the public, and we are actively working towards possible solutions for that. If, heaven forbid, something this far-reaching and this long in duration happens again, where California, we have high risk of fire in our mountain areas and some of our brush, and so we all employ all of those methods that I spoke to earlier to try and mitigate that, and working with local fire and police as well. But it is something that we very often we're at the mercy of. So we are actively trying to plan for the futures of, if something is this long in duration, what possible solutions we could have. So I do not have anything solid for you to present that can say, yes, this is this will never happen again in the community of Bloomington. But as I mentioned before, we have a number of improvements that are happening in the Bloomington community that it does take time. It's not something that we can say is going to happen next month, and we get to work on the construction part of it and make it happen. It's years in the works. And so the things that I'm going to present, as well as some of our engineering on the work that we're doing in Bloomington, has been something that's been in the works for years, that we've been talking about and trying to get the plans and get the engineering and get all of our ducks in a row so that we can start construction and help the community of Bloomington. So we are going to address some of that. I do want to also mention too, she mentioned it, some of the difficulties that, family and work and things like that have from home. There are, on this slide here, a number of resources that we have. There is the SGIP or SGIP, that's our self-generation incentive program. It does give cash incentives for battery and generator equipment. There is rebates for portable power stations, rebates for what we call CARE and FARA. Those are discounted rates for also if any of the residents there in Bloomington that have not signed up for this, you can sign up to be on these two programs, CARE and FARA, where you get a discounted rate on your bill, and also can qualify for rebates, on the portable generators. You also get a discount on our medical baseline program. And that's the program I was speaking to earlier, that we really need residents and customers to reach out to us and let us know that you require certain equipment. And this can be anything from an oxygen machine. This can be a respirator. This can be a CPAP machine that you require at night. Any of those things can qualify for medical baseline. And then if you are what we consider based on what the equipment you tell us you need, you might be considered critical care. And so we will fully subsidize a battery backup for those customers. Sorry, was there a question?
I think there's one more question that we can take before you go ahead and go to the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Part of the concern and the frustration. Just so that I can try, she can hear it. Um,
Okay, Jess, I'm sorry. I was able to hear bits and pieces of it, but can you recap the question?
Yeah. So to recap, it is the frustration is, or the ask is, why is it occurring in the south of Bloomington and community that with a lower income, is it something that you guys can do to go ahead and move them from that current circuit to a different circuit so that they can, and this doesn't have to occur. And a variety of years that they've been here, they've never seen an event as harsh as this one. And if you ask a family that has one or two or three kids, that's a couple $100 when it comes to not being able, like losing out on a couple $100, which makes quite a difference. So they just want to make sure that you can address why it's happening. Can it be moved to a different circuit? And then talk about some of those things that you said will be occurring and can be coming forward to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Sure, sure.
Did I get the majority of the gist of that question correct? Or did I miss anything? Yeah, I got the gist of that.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna show, actually, I skipped ahead on the slides here so I can show you the circuitry and have some of our folks on the line that are gonna speak more directly to it. But it isn't a simple fix of just switching to a different grid, as you say. It's very much interconnected. And so what we do is we do what's called sectionalization of certain circuits that run up through the community. So some circuits can run 30 miles. And so I don't know in particular, these ones run 30 miles, but we do is we put segmenting separation essentially for certain circuits so that some of them can still be on while we have to shut off others. And I'm going to show you some of the maps of how complicated that is and tricky because, again, we don't want anybody to be out without power. We know it's a huge hardship, especially when you have children and families, and we understand that. And so there are things that we are working on to make this better for the community of Bloomington. What I want to show here, like I was mentioning, there are 5 circuits that run through the community of Bloomington. Bloomington has their substation right here on the map. You can see where the star is, and these are the 5. We give them names simply so we can identify them, but these are the 5 that run through the community of Bloomington. And then, so for instance, this is one of them. This is the highball circuit. Has about 1,500 customers, give or take, on that line. 90% of it is overhead. We have about 10% of it that's underground, and you can see underground is the red lines that are on the map in the tier 2 high fire risk areas. And this is about 30 miles total. 1 mile of it was covered conductor in 2022. We did do that. And there was, I want to stop here real quick. There was the question about, we haven't seen the extent of PSPS like we did this last time in January. And that is true. We have had significantly dry weather over the last couple years. This year, it was quite dry. January, it felt like it was in October. When we typically see in October, in terms of the dry vegetation and the wind speeds. And like I said, we had seen winds in upwards of 100 miles an hour. So this was a once in a decade kind of event. It's not something that the combination of the humidity, the dryness of the brush, and the wind speeds all contributed to the impact to this region. And so it was longer than it typically has in the past. And like I said, we're looking at ways that we can minimize that impact, but hopefully, some of these things that I'm going to go over that we're doing in the future are going to be a benefit to the community. So we have over 1 mile of covered conductor that's going to be installed in 2025. And 5 sectionalizing devices, what I mentioned, where certain communities will have power, and then we can section it off to where the others won't, and it hopefully is minimized for depending on the wind speed and where it's hitting based on our weather stations. So this is for this specific circuit. You can see how expansive it is. There isn't. It doesn't just run north and south. It goes through communities and streets, and it's very surgical in how we implement the PSPS in these areas. And again, the future scoped is the green. That is what we're looking at doing. More covered conductor that's right along that perimeter of high fire risk. And then we also have the work that we already did that's in the blue, the light blue here, for hardening the covered conductor. And then the red is what we've underground. And so we're continuing to, for this particular circuit, look at ways that we'll be implementing come 2025 that will be a benefit for that particular circuit that runs through the community. This is the other circuit, the tender circuit. It's a 12 kV. 82% of it is overhead circuit, and only 18% of it is underground. And it is right, if you can see, right smack in the middle of a tier 2 high fire risk zone, which is something of a concern for us and the homes in the area. So 32 miles. We've completed about a half mile of covered conductor. Again, you can see by the color coding here what is in scope as well. We have 1 mile that we're going to be doing that's in the green, that's up here, that is going to impact those on the circuit chair. And then we also have 1 mile in flight for undergrounding. That means that when it says in flight, that means that it's been planned for, and we don't have an exact date yet, but this is what we were looking at doing and being completed
Melissa?
in 2026.
Just for clarification, that green line is the covered conductor that is planned for, that leads up to the
Yes.
number streets, correct?
Yes. The red is the underground.
And the
Hey,
green.
Melissa, I could also jump in
Sorry,
here.
go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, wait, sorry. I want to go back a slide here for you. Sorry, go ahead, Jonathan. Is this,
Yeah,
the slide you want to see, or the next one?
The next one, it might be easier to explain too.
Okay.
So
Go
on
ahead,
the
Jonathan.
the tender circuit where you see the Bloomington substation where it's a star up at that top right corner, and how all of the circuitry is below the high fire area. This is probably one of the most impacted circuits because of PSPS and how it runs through the high fire area. You can see that the main source primarily runs through that high fire area. So this whole circuit got affected by PSPS. And with the planned work we have this year that is planned in construction for 2025, that source or that main line will be hardened, which will withstand higher wind speeds. But as you can tell, because it's the main feed coming in, especially for this community that's fed by the circuit, probably severely impacted because of that. But from us hardening that main source later this year, it will definitely help with future PSPS events.
And we do have some more undergrounding, as you can see on the map, some of the red portions that are being looked at doing more undergrounding for those. And then the little squiggly kind of bubble, we wanted to make it easy for the public to see, but the red cloud looking thing, that has already been done. That is correct, Jonathan? That's covered conductor, or I'm sorry, undergrounding already has been done.
Yes, that is correct. That red cloud you see there, that's all underground. But to my point earlier, since your main feed is before that, even though that community is underground, they will be affected, unfortunately, by PSPS because of the main source running through that high fire area initially. And I don't know if Melissa mentioned it or she didn't get to it, but these high fire areas are mandated by the state. We do not pick these lines or this orange coverage that you see here that's designated as high fire area. We do not pick those lines, right, Melissa? It's
Right.
It's picked by the state for us where those lines are.
Right. And then we're told to mitigate it where we can. And we use a lot of those different measures that I already spoke about early in the presentation. But this is one that is so it has a significant impact to protect the homes that are there. But it also, at the same time, we know that it has an impact for the communities when it comes to, family and school and lights and things like that. So like I said, we're going to be doing some of this work here that you can see that is going to mitigate a lot of the issues that the community has. Covered conductor, like I said before, can withstand higher wind speeds than uncovered bare wire. And that is what we're concerned about. We don't want anything hitting uncovered lines that could potentially spark, especially you can see this whole area is very much of a concern. Do you want me to go to the next slide, Jonathan?
Yeah, you're doing great. If you want to go to the next slide.
Okay.
And Melissa, if you can go to the
Sure.
previous one, let me just see if anybody has any questions on that, since it's the
course.
neighborhoods where I know a lot of the PSPS was affected. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta sobre lo que explicaron de esta área, siendo que las calles son donde fue más fueron afectados por que apagaron la luz? O si entendieron de qué es lo que tiene planeado a Southern California Edison en hacer.
Is there any questions?
A lavarse las manos, lo que ya sabemos y de lo que ya nos han dicho varias veces. But we will want is service, we want continuous service. Lo que queremos es servicio continuo. Just that we're paying, the same como estamos pagando. This is the first time that we hear that we're improving the circuitry. I think all this is too much, just timeline. When are we going to get it?
Jessica is muted if you are trying to speak, Jessica.
All the miles and the percentage, I think it's not really that relevant. It is relevant, but it's not what we concern with one a timeline, promise, just that we pay. So lo mismo yo digo, si ellos están diciendo que hasta ahorita sabemos que nos están dando algo de porcentaje de que van a hacer mejorías, pero queremos, yo pienso que tanto discusión y tanto angustia es más bien como cuándo lo van a hacer, para cuándo esperamos tener el servicio continuo así como estamos pagando. So the same reason that you guys said it's complicated, the wind, the weather, the safety, the this and that, our payments are also come from our paycheck that is also complicated. So why do we say, well, my boss doesn't pay me enough, maybe I can pay you today. Es lo mismo que yo pienso, hay muchas complicaciones para todos, en todos los negocios. Cuando nosotros trabajamos también tenemos complicaciones y si el que nos paga dice, sorry, no te podemos pagar ahora, eso no le vamos a decir a ellos. That's all.
Melissa, again, just shorten it. It's more so they understand that they just want continuous service. They understand that this is the first time that they're mentioning they're hearing of anything that there's going to be cover conductor. They would like to know, is there a timeline? It's just more so about finding out when is it going to be done. If you guys can share that or provide any more information on it.
We can't, I don't have an actual date, but it is in scope for this year. So the ones that say 2025, that it's going to be completed this year. So I don't have a date of when that work is happening yet, but it is going to be completed this year. And then we're, in anticipation for the high winds of October that we usually get. We're hoping to have it done before then, but again, it's an estimation. It's real people working on these circuits here, so I don't have an actual timeline to share.
Yeah, can a request be made that whenever you guys do have that information available, that how are you going to get it to the constituents, and how can we make sure that they are informed and they find out when this will be taking place?
If there's going to be an outage of any sort, and Luis could probably speak to this. I think he's on the other line. We do notifications to residents. We let them know that there is going to be an outage, and on our outage map, that sce.com/outage, it will actually, you can search by address, you could search by city, and there's a little triangle icon that'll show up on the screen little square icon that'll have the date of when that work is happening, and you click on that and it'll give you what we're doing, the repair that we're doing, an upgrade of what we're doing, and when it's planned, and the time span. And we also put on that web page, which is accessible by your phones as well. So if you don't have a computer or power issues, you can still accept it. You can still view it via your phone, but that will tell you the restoration, estimated restoration time as well. And keep in mind that when we were restoring power during these windstorms, once a circuit is de-energized, we have to then inspect it. And it's not just a matter of flipping a switch. We have to go and look at the line especially, if it's overhead line, we need to make sure that there isn't anything on it, or there hasn't been something that in the process of the winds and various things have come in contact with the lines before we turn it on, because that could spark something. So we do a really thorough process of investigating and taking a look at those lines before they're re-energized. So with PSPS, it's a little bit more in flux. We estimate when we de-energize a line, and then we say that we're working towards, maybe the winds have stopped and you're wondering why your power is still off. It's not because we're not working on it. We are just looking at inspecting the line and having to go through the whole scope of the line to make sure that it's safe to do so before we turn it on. So sometimes, depending on the length of the circuit, it can take up to 8 hours. So if you're not seeing any wind and wondering why it's taking so long, we're just making sure that it is safe to turn the switch back on, to turn your power back on, to do so before we do that. And when it comes to outages in the community, we post those on the website, and it will say estimated restoration time. And it's very similar to, say, if you have somebody come in, work on your home, if we're doing any upgrades, if we're providing any additional infrastructure for the area. Sometimes there are unforeseen things that happen, right? You have a contractor that comes into your home and they start tearing up the kitchen, or they find a busted pipe, and then that ends up adding to the time that they are being in your home repairing it. So the same kind of situation can be applied here, where we estimate the time that it's going to take to repair and get these done, but sometimes there are unforeseen events that impact that restoration time on the outage maps, but we always aim to be within that time frame, very close to, if not, if we can sooner, but being close to that time and pad it a little bit so that we can make sure that folks can properly prepare for something like that.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. If you can continue with the presentation.
Okay. So Jonathan, we talked about the tender circuit. You can see all that we're doing there. This is the spike that runs through, and you can see the bottom right here. There is a section that still is considered high fire risk. So that is 60% of this part, though, is underground. And we do have some of it that goes into the tier 2. So that's why we do that. 40% is overhead circuitry. And in 2022, we did do some covered conductor in that area, about 1 mile of it. And we also installed what I mentioned before, the 2 sectionalizing devices, to make sure that we can mitigate that. So this community isn't hit as hard on the spike circuit. And the red ball, the total customers we have on this circuit line is 315. 85% of this is already underground, and because it goes through the high fire risk area, and it's about 12 miles, like mentioned. And we had about 1 mile of it being, Jonathan, can you clarify this? I think this is a typo, but we did it in 2022. We completed the covered conductor. I don't remember if that was 12 miles.
Yeah, that was a typo on my end. That's 1 mile of completed conductor back in 2022 for this circuit.
And then we had the 2 devices that were installed as well to mitigate some of the impacts here for PS. And then we have the Bombay, 776 customers that are on this circuit. And you can see it goes right through the high fire risk area. We have about 20 miles of it. In 2026, we have 2 miles more of covered conductor that is going to be done. Again, we've been doing these plans and working through getting this area more reliable for folks in those high fire risk areas. So hopefully, this will be a much better situation. And we're also, there's 3 sectionalizing devices that are going to be installed as well that will help segment, like I said, off certain parts of the community and keep power on to more folks than what we have in the past. These are just some of the resources that we have. Like I said, the energy, emergency backup power for small devices. Those are like cell phones, CPAP machines, those that are in tier 2 and tier 3, which Bloomington qualifies, can receive up to 5 of the $150 rebates per active service account. So if you have 5 people that live in your home, and let's say that all of them require a CPAP machine, that is something, a rebate that you can receive. And we do have some emergency backup power for large household appliances like refrigerators and water pumps, and the rebates are available on those generation. We can't provide everybody a generator, but we have partnered with the companies that make the generators, and they have agreed to issue a rebate on some of those models. And this goes back to what I was stating before, is that we really need the residents to update their contact information. Let us know if you're on medical, if you are on any type of medical equipment that you need, so we can get you enrolled. We can also through the medical baseline program, you get a discount. And then if you're a critical care customer, we can provide you a backup battery too. And so that can be used for cell phones or any devices that you need, but primarily those are for you if you require any type of medical equipment. And we also want people to be prepared. So we know a lot of folks lost the food in their fridge. We try to notify people as quickly as possible, but we want also people to be prepared in the area for an emergency. And PSPS is just, one of the things that are implemented in the event of emergency, like the windstorm that we had. But it could be a fire, it could be a flood, it could be one of the big earthquakes that we keep saying we're going to have. Having a plan in place with basic supplies and maybe an ice chest on hand to put load up with ice or dry ice from your local market, those kind of things to keep food that is perishable cold. So we have a number of outage tips that are on our website here. It's for wildfire safety, and you can call customer support too. But we encourage everybody to make a plan for that, and definitely reach out to us to update your contact information and see if you qualify for any of our care programs that we have. Again, I'm going to provide a copy of this to the MAC board, but this has all of our links for every single one of our programs. The CPUC wildfire maps, you can see what they designate as high fire risk, our weather stations, our cameras, and also we, on our outage page, will put what we call customer resource centers. We will partner with the county or with nonprofits to have a place for people to go to charge their phones, receive water, get snacks, a number of other resources that are available to them. I know that Bloomington had the nearest one was Harupa Valley's VFW, and we really try to stage these locations throughout our service area and be as broad as possible. So based on where one is, and then trying to put the most benefit to the community for the next one, and certain mileage and whatever facilities that are available, because they need to have power so that people can charge. We also have community resource vehicles, and I know that due to the expansiveness of this last windstorm, we were not able to bring one to the community in Bloomington, but we are always and are currently evaluating additional locations that we could either deploy a community resource vehicle or a center that would be most beneficial to the community. So I know that there were some community members that it was quite difficult to get to the Harupa Valley VFW, and that is something that has been brought up to attention to not only our company, but also to the county, and partnering with both of them to find the best location and the way that we can do. We're reevaluating if we are, heaven forbid, to have something as expansive and long as we did with this last windstorm, to have more facilities available and resources available for the community. So that is something that we are actively looking at for future in terms of the resource centers that we have. And then, so I wanted to give the community an opportunity. We have some frequently asked questions that are on the slide here that, again, we'll certainly provide a copy to the MAC board, but I wanted to connect with anybody that had any questions about everything that we went over. So I'll stop there, and unless there's anybody on our team that is wanting to add to what we talked about.
I think Jessica had her hand up.
Yeah, I did have a question from a constituent. They said, we live at 18188 Ash Street, and 3 men were in our neighborhood this evening talking about construction in our area. They were surprised I didn't know why they were there. I still don't. They were on their way to the meeting. They were it was construction schedule for the area. They said that they were with Edison. So again, the address is 18188 Ash Street.
18188 Ash Street. I don't know if we have somebody on the call that could speak to that, but it's probably something I'm going to have to look at what the work is. We do have contractors that are working with Edison, so they may not have Edison logo on their like shirt or label or anything like that. We do have contractors, but I would have to take a look at the address and provide what that work actually is. I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Melissa, for any of these questions, what is the best way to get constituent concerns through you? Obviously, through our office, it's something that we've been able to do. We've sent over some of the constituent concerns, but is there any other way for them to reach Edison directly as a way to cut out the middleman, or would you still obviously still happy to send over the request on our end, but is there anything else that you'd like to add on that?
We do have a customer care team that can answer any questions from the public. I'm happy to pass it to them. If a resident has a question and they reach out to you, Jessica, or the supervisor, but we do have the customer care line, and they can call. It used to be a much longer time, but it has been reduced. Maybe at the most during some very high active periods of time, about 20-minute wait. But they can address some of their questions and get them any assistance that they need. We did also put the link to our Care and Fair program is in the chat, as well as a number of other links as well, the claims online, and they can use those resources and go online to use them, or they can call the customer care line.
Okay, if you can put that in the chat, I'm going to just make a quick announcement. So for everyone that's here, if you can please make sure to fill out that sign-up sheet with your contact information. All of the links in the presentation that she has provided for us today, we will be sending it over to you as well as our members. Para toda la gente que está presente aquí, por favor, pongan su nombre y su información en la tabla que están pasando para que nosotros podamos mandarles algunos de los recursos que Edison está dando, sea hacia las distintas locales de ayuda o los teléfonos que están dando. Y también les voy a compartir una copia de la presentación que ellos han dado. Thank you, Melissa.
Sure thing.
¿Algunas otras preguntas?
Hi, Melissa. My name is Joaquin. I grew up in Bloomington. My parents live on 11th Street and have been impacted by these shutoffs. And it's not just this last shutoff, but throughout the last couple years or maybe more.
Thing over and over again.
No, I am a robot. I am not AI generated. Again, we could not be there in person tonight, but very much. I mean, if I wave my hand, I'm not a robot. This is me. We just have a background on our screen. I don't think that you would want to see. Thank you, Jonathan. You hit his background, but for mine, it's the dark room, and this adds some more bright, so you can actually see what's going on and see my face. So I much prefer you see my face than just a screen with the Edison logo on it.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa, for your time. Any further questions, I'll go ahead and I'll note them and be able to send them over to Edison. We do greatly appreciate everyone that showed up and brought these questions over to Edison. Our goal is to try to connect you as much as possible and to get you the answers that you need to hopefully mitigate and help that there's less PSPS, and we do greatly appreciate Edison for taking the time to explain. As I mentioned, please make sure that you sign up and we have your name and your information so that I can get you a copy of the presentation and the information so that way you can go ahead and send over any additional questions. We can make sure that SCE gets them and connect you to their customer service representatives that can answer and get you signed up for those services, because they you guys have to initiate the conversation with Edison in order for them to know that you need help with a generator or any medicine or help that you may need. So we'd be happy to aid in any of that. And yeah, we greatly appreciate you showing up tonight. Next MAC meeting, we do apologize we didn't have a MAC meeting tonight. That was due to not having a quorum. MAC had to dissolve because of the term ending, so it got reinstated, and we currently only had 3 MAC members available for tonight. Our 4th member had a family emergency. Please do keep them on your thoughts, but we will be resuming our meeting next month, March 5th. Thank you again for being here, and if you any questions, I'll be sure to note them down. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica, and please, follow up later with all the contact information from those that attended, so we can continue the communication with residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.